पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Namaste. Welcome to the 12th session on Bhagavad Gita, your source of inspiration by Jaya Row. I request Jaya to give us an overview of chapter 17.
We'll begin with the invocation.
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Yesterday, in chapter 16, that Krishna says, a person who merely pursues desire and ignores the advice of the scriptures attains neither success nor happiness and does not evolve spiritually. Here, Arjuna asks, what is the fate of a person who does not follow the scriptures but sacrifices with Shraddha? Shraddha is translated as faith, but has a far deeper meaning. It is a combination of devotion and intellectual focus that is maintained with clarity until the goal is achieved. It is the ability to conceive a goal and constantly put in efforts towards it until the mission is accomplished. You don't let go. Shraddha, therefore, is the most important determinant of success, both in the material field as well as the spiritual field. You are defined by your Shraddha. You could be exceptionally talented, extraordinarily educated, and have all the opportunities in the world, but unless you consistently apply your effort wholeheartedly, the goal will remain elusive. Shraddha is an aspect of one's nature, which means vasanas. Vasanas are one's inherent nature, intrinsic tendency, or innate disposition, also referred to as guna. Guna is of three kinds: sattva, pure; rajas, passion; and tamas, indolent. The ancient Indian sages analyzed the mind and went to the very root of your personality, vasana. Thus, their prescription is foolproof and scientific, rational. There are no gray areas, and it works 100%. It's like when you go to a doctor with an illness, there are two ways of looking at it. One is just give symptomatic relief. The second is to get to the root of the problem. Then it may take a little longer than the symptomatic steps, but it will be gone for good from your personality, from your body. So, Sattvic Shraddha is worship of the gods, means divine manifestations, higher ideals. So let's see what verse 4 says.
यजन्ते सात्विका देवान् यक्षरक्षांसि राजसाः प्रेतान् भूतगणाश्चान्ये यजन्ते तामसा जनाः.
Sattvic people worship the gods, devas, The Rajasic, Yakshas, demigods, and Rakshasas, demons. The others, the Tamasic, worship the Pretas, ghosts, and hosts of Bhutas, spirit. So, in a sattvic person, the vision of the transcendental, the beyond, is constant. He never loses sight of it and is always motivated by it. Like Hanuman. From the time that Hanuman met Lord Rama, his attention never wavered from Rama. So, whatever he did, whatever happened to him, everything was Ram's glory. That, therefore, it is that he is worshipped as the greatest bhakta of God. Now, in Vedanta, when they use the word Deva in plural, Devaha, God's is not the original God. Brahman is only one. There is only one, say the scriptures, the Upanishads. If you see another, it's got to be a delusion. So there is only one God. But that Brahman manifests in the world as different powers. So God in plural means manifestations in the world, divine manifestations. A sattvic person knows only one God, but worships Brahman through the manifestations. Now, this plurality, the creation of these gods, is necessary because the human being is always enchanted by worldly attractions, gets involved in terrestrial matters. Hence, a constant reminder of God is needed. So, the sages, in their brilliance, came up with a wonderful idea. What they did was, instead of asking us to pull the mind away from the world and focus on Atman, they planted gods wherever your mind went. So you can't escape Brahman. So a person who is running after money worships goddess Lakshmi. A person who wants learning, knowledge, goddess Saraswati. Success, Lord Ganesha. Strength, Hanuman. Like somebody said, thou art everywhere, yet I worship you here. Thou art without form, but I worship this form. Thou needest no praise, yet I offer praise and salutations. So this is a brilliant way of getting the human mind to think of God in and through the attractions and the temptations of the world. Now, a Rajasic person, see, a Sattvic person understands the gods as means to the goal, understands gods as idols which represent the one ideal. So, even their worship of the gods is done objectively, understanding that these gods will take me to the point where I can connect with Brahman, where I can become Brahman. But a Rajasic person worships the gods as ends in themselves. So they pursue material self-centered goals. As long as you're objective, you are still within the realm of sattva. The moment you get involved, it is rajas. So there could be less evolved people and more evolved. Now, the more evolved are the yakshas. So they are content with achieving limited goals which are beyond their selfish ends. But Rakshasas are less evolved, more selfish, and they have no concept of the higher. Then comes Tamasic people. Tamasic people are totally deluded and oblivious of the transcendental. They live a life of ignorance, delusion, and lazy, laid back lifestyle. They are described as those who worship ghosts and spirits. So, what it is they are unwilling to work hard and instead resort to bizarre methods in the vain hope of achieving excellence. The mind hallucinates with spirits and planchets and things like that. So, Shakespeare in Hamlet presents this. Hamlet goes to see his mother, and you know the story. Hamlet's uncle has killed his father and married his mother. So Hamlet knows this. The mother doesn't know. And he's very distraught, very agitated. And he sees his father's ghost. So he goes to the mother's room and says, "Don't you see my father here?" The mother doesn't even bother to look in the direction in which he is pointing. She looks at him and says, "Hamlet, my dear, you're sick." That's what it is. So if you start seeing things that are irrational that nobody else sees, that's a very serious condition. You should be consulting a doctor. Krishna then goes on to describe the classification of, now he has answered Arjuna's question. Arjuna asks about Shraddha only. But Krishna gives more by way of the classification into sattva, rajas and tamas of ahara, food, yajna, sacrifice, tapa, austerity, and dana, charity. So yajna, tapa and dana are the three pillars that make for human development. Every individual must look into these three and ensure that you have risen up to the level of sattva in these three categories. So the analysis of these into the three gunas helps get an idea of your inner nature, because every aspect of your personality is colored with the particular combination of gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, that you possess. So if you're a predominantly sattvic person, everything about you will tend to be sattvic. If you're a rajasic person, everything is pervaded by this passion, desire, ego. And laziness pervades a tamasic person's personality. So we go now to sattvic ahara, sattvic food, verse 8.
आयुस्सत्त्वबलारोग्य सुखप्रीतिविवर्धनाः रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः.
The foods that are dear to the sattvic, pure, are delicious, mild, balanced, and appetizing. They enhance longevity, purity, strength, health, joy, and cheer. So, sattvic foods are tasty, wholesome, nutritious, and give long life, vigor, health, and happiness. Nowadays, there is a growing awareness of health food. That is what it is, which our forefathers thought of, and they lived it for centuries together. It's only now that we have got influenced by the West and go to junk food. Now, the common misconception is that you will become spiritual if you eat sattvic food. That is not true. That's not cause and effect. The subtle influences the gross. So, whatever be the quality of your mind, that kind of food you will get attracted to, which in this verse it says very clearly, sattvika priyaha, that such food is dear to the sattvic person. And you see it, a person who is aware of health and fitness naturally takes to healthy food and avoids junk food. But a person who doesn't have that awareness and goes merely by taste is eating junk food all the time. So it's not that if you eat sattvic food, you become sattvic. When your mind changes, when the composition of your gunas changes towards sattva, then your preference will move towards healthy food. So nowadays you find people who are very particular about health food and exercise and this, that, and the other, but their minds are a mess. That doesn't help. If you focus on your mind, then the kind of food you eat naturally, gradually changes. So, but it is true that foods that are classified as sattvic are conducive for spiritual growth, are conducive for the development of the sattvic quality. Like Swami Ramatirtha, who was a mathematician, had said that even to study mathematics, if you eat heavy food, your brain doesn't function. So it's like that. And when you consume sattvic food, as categorized like this, it promotes long life and vitality, which is extremely important for even spiritual growth. Like there is an invocation from the Upanishad which says, Bhadrang karne bhi shruduyama devaha, means let my physical body, my ears, my eyes, everything be in fit condition, because the spiritual journey is an arduous journey and requires strength. Pure. The mind is kept calm and unagitated, and the intellect clear. So, when you become healthy and fit with healthy food, sattvic food, it gives strength, vigor, and energy to you to pursue the spiritual path. So, here, as compared to modern times, you are not doing this merely to look good. You're doing it so that your personality is geared, is tuned up perfectly for the spiritual path, which is a big difference. And the mind is content with a pleasing, amiable attitude. That is important. So then, we come to Rajasic. Rajasic people like everything in excess. So, excessively bitter, pungent, spicy, sour, and salty food. Now, with the consumption of food like this, it causes discomfort and disease. Any junk food, you eat bhel puri, it's excess of everything. Burgers, pizza, everything has its chatpata. So a Rajasic person is like that and naturally takes to food like this, including anger. If you see, generally angry people tend to eat spicy food. But merely changing the food doesn't change the mind. Then Krishna goes to the main thing, Yajna, Tapa and Dana. So let's take a look at what Sattvic Yajna is. Verse 11.
आङ्क्षिभिर्यज्ञः विधिदृष्टो य युज्यते यष्टव्यमेवेति मनः समाधाय स सात्विकः.
That yajna, sacrifice, is sattvic, which is in accordance with scriptural mandate, performed by those desiring no fruit, with the mind convinced that sacrifice alone ought to be performed. What a fantastic concept, Yashtavya. This is something that all of us need to absorb into our system. Whatever you don't do it because you desire it. You don't do it because you want it. You do it because it ought to be done. So there is no ego there. Here is a job that ought to be done. And you do it wholeheartedly, sarva bhavena, not wanting any result, material result, worldly result, because you are aspiring for realization which is beyond the world. So, with reference to the world, you don't want name, fame, money, position. There is nothing you want in the world. And just this not wanting a fruit puts you up on a pedestal, because then you become independent of the world. Whatever the world gives you, you're happy with it. So, this brings us to the three types of actions: selfish, unselfish, and selfless. Selfish action we are all familiar with, it doesn't need explanation, where the overriding concern in the action is only I, me, myself. I want something out of it. I want a profit. I want tangible or intangible return from this action for myself, even if it is a donation that you give. So it has nothing to do with the action that you perform, it has something to do with the motivation that is driving you to perform that action. Unselfish is when you rise above thought of self and dedicate yourself to something, anything beyond yourself. Now, selfish action leads to mediocrity because the thought of self makes the mind small and agitates you. So, the law is selfish people will always perform mediocre actions. The moment you rise above thought of self, then excellence comes in. Take a look at the people who achieved outstanding success in the world, in any field. They were free from thought of self. Don Bradman did not play cricket for money. Mozart did not compose music for money. One of the greatest athletes, Eric Liddell in Chariots of Fire, did not run for money or even for the Olympic gold. He ran for God. So there's a story of the Mughal Emperor Akbar, who was a lover of the arts. And he had a singer, outstanding classical musician called Tansen in his court. One day he asked Tansen, "You are outstanding, Tansen, but I want to listen to your guru." Tansen said, "Forget it, my guru won't come to your court." Akbar said, "Doesn't matter, we'll go to where he is." And the two went to a small village in which there was a little temple. And as they approached the temple, they heard the most exquisite music emerge from the temple. And there was Tansen's guru, Swami Haridas, singing to no audience. He was singing to God. Akbar stood outside, mesmerized by the music. And when he went back to court, he asked Tansen, "Tansen, you are outstanding, but your guru has a distinct edge over you. What's the difference?" Tansen immediately shot back the answer. He says, "Very simple, Maharaj. I sing for you, he sings for God. And that is it." So this brings us, when the moment your actions are dedicated to God, it becomes selfless, desireless, because with reference to the world, you have no desire. Now, Yajna is an ancient Vedic ritual, in fact, pre-Vedic also. Fire worship. As you all know, Havan consists of starting a fire in a brick wall trough. And while the priest chants mantras, the participants, it's a community thing, come and offer their ahuti offering into the fire. So what is offered is usually ghee, grain, pieces of wood, something inflammable. When you offer this ahuti into the fire, what happens? The fire shoots up, and the belief is that fire god Agni has blessed the participants. The real meaning, the philosophical significance of this ritual is what Krishna is pointing to in the Bhagavad Gita. And that is, the brick wall trough is the higher goal, ideal that you are working for. Let's say in an organization, all the employees work dedicatedly for the well-being of the organization. And there are different kinds of people, so they will offer different ahuti. There is an accountant, salesman, a marketing manager, a general manager, the CEO, the chairman, the CA, all kinds of people. So every morning when they go to work, each person gives his talent or ability as ahuti into the fire of the organization. Then what happens if everyone works in a spirit of service and sacrifice for the well-being of the organization? The profits shoot up, signified by the fire getting kindled. And then Agni, fire god, blesses all the participants. The profits are then shared between the employees, the shareholders, the stakeholders, the community, the country, everybody benefits. But if each one goes only for a selfishness, say everyone goes with the feeling, let me see how I can maximize my earnings, then the organization makes losses, there is no ahuti being put in the fire, and eventually goes bankrupt. Everybody loses. You've seen companies that have gone bust. The employees haven't been paid for years. And it's so sad that the ordinary person suffers because the man at the top doesn't have that yajna spirit. So then, when all the fire is exhausted, the fuel is exhausted, the ashes remain. The ashes are given equally to everyone, applied in 3 stripes, either horizontally or vertically, signifying the transcendence of the 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. And then you visit a temple, you come face to face with the deity, signifying the state of realization. This is an inherent and essential aspect of life. Every one of us needs to work in a spirit of yajna. The term yajna must be instilled in every single person, every organization, every NGO, everyone. Because any organization where this is missing, it crumbles and falls. This is the natural order in the world. Take a look at nature. The sun rises every morning, sets every evening. Have you heard of anyone getting a bill directly from the sun? A volcano erupts, birds sing, the tide comes and goes. Every element in nature works without a selfish reason, doesn't claim profit, doesn't claim anything for itself. It just gives, except the human being. And therefore it is that no element in nature suffers from stress or sorrow. No element is miserable except the human being. So it is selfishness that is the root cause of all our problems. Action itself gets impoverished by 2 factors: intense desire pushing you from the past, so there is worry over the past, and anxiety for the future. Now, when you have these two, your mind is constantly going to the past and future, it is not in the present. It's not concentrating on the present action. You make mistakes, errors, and failure. This is stark in sport. A tennis player at match point, whether he wins or loses doesn't depend on his skill or his training or his coach. No factor other than is his mind in the present. What is the use if you're the best tennis player and your mind has gone to the past? How many times I've come up to Wimbledon and lost? Wimbledon final and lost. And I desperately need this for my ranking. Out. Same thing happens to a cricketer who plays brilliantly till he hits the score of 90. After that, It's the nervous 90s, they call it. He plays like a novice and ultimately gets out to a poor shot. Now, this is not taught in any school, any university, no sports academy, nobody teaches this. Because what is required is sattva, which is not even understood nowadays. So, selfishness drains you of energy, it causes stress, and action itself gets sabotaged. We must understand that present action itself is the future success or failure. So, every action, keep the mind on the present action and give it everything you've got. Success will come to you whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not, whether you're striving for it or not. To depend on factors beyond your control is the most ridiculous, unintelligent thing to do. Because what the fruit is beyond your control. It depends on what other people are doing. And philosophically, it depends on your own past actions, over which you have no control. But what you have control over is the present action. Do it. Why? Not because you have a desire for it, not because you want anything out of it. Just yashtavya. What a fabulous term. Because you owe it. And why do you owe it? Because you have taken so much from the totality, from nature. You have been blessed with abundance of everything. And you haven't paid for anything, you're not even aware of it, and much less grateful for it. Not only that, you have been gifted, every one of us is gifted with a talent and ability. Acknowledge it as a gift from God. And like that sportsperson said, every time you act in the field of your talent, dedicate that to God, because it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to God. And if you maintain this attitude, before long you will get to God. When sacrifice is undertaken with an ulterior motive for personal gain, profit, reputation, name and fame, it becomes rajasic. You might as well not do it because it has no effect. Also, ostentatiously. Even something you do for others is done because you want reputation, name and fame. You know, earlier on Marine Drive there used to be benches. At the back of the benches, the name of the person who contributed towards the bench was written. How silly. Nobody looks at it except crows' droppings fall on it. If you do anything for anybody, it should be without your name. Like they say, your left hand should not know what your right hand has given. Then it is true sacrifice. So though it appears to be sacrifice, it is polluted by ego and selfish motive and a show of virtue. So the mind remains burdened with desire, which increases actually. Bharata Shrestha. Krishna addresses Arjuna as Bharata Shrestha, best among the Bharatas. Indians themselves have an edge because they are more sattvic. And among them, Arjuna was the best. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna addresses Arjuna with superlatives. And it's partly right, but more to encourage him to continue with this so that he gets spiritual development as well. Now, in verse 13, he describes tamasic yajna. And that's very important because we should know what we should not do. So let's take verse 13.
विधिहीनमसृष्टान्नं मन्त्रहीनमदक्षिणम् श्रद्धाविरहितं यज्ञं तामसं परिचक्षते.
Sacrifice contrary to ordinance, contrary to the scriptures, in which, please mark these words, no food is of mantra, sacred prayer, gift or shraddha is tamasic yajna, sorry. So that sacrifice performed against scriptural mandate with neither outward show nor inner conviction is tamasic. Asrushta annam, no sharing of food or wealth. Food represents wealth. If you take a look at all our rituals, the Indian customs themselves, this giving is embedded in it. So giving of food means wealth. So we have Brahmana Bhojana, the feeding of poor, the distribution of gifts, embedded in our culture to promote giving. And why must we give? Because we have received, because we are hopeless debtors. And most importantly, when you give, you gain. So this sharing, the attitude of sharing, the attitude of oneness, which propels you to give. It's like, does anyone need to be told that you should give to your children? No. You give in abundance more than is necessary and spoil your kids. Why? Because you feel one with them. But when it comes to others, there is no feeling whatsoever. During this COVID crisis, there are so many people who are suffering. Has anyone thought of them? You only think of your boredom. You want 5-star restaurants to open at night because you want to go out. You don't think of them. A simple thing, like a lady in Bangalore decided to cook, and she's not a chef, mind you. That's not her profession. Decided to cook simple food in her home and distribute it to the people who, elderly citizens in Bangalore, who were suffering from COVID and were in isolation. Nobody ever thought of them. So she would distribute these packets, food packets, freshly cooked, healthy, nutritious food for these patients in their homes. What human service! Nobody has thought of it. No one else thought of it. And amazingly, what happens is the moment you start something, people join. So her friends joined, her friends' friends joined, and then it became a movement. So it's extremely important that you develop the attitude of giving. And this attitude of giving is the most important. It's not about what you give. Then you think of ways and means to fill in the gaps in society. Then mantrahinam, no higher ideal. Take a look at all of us. The only thing you think of from birth to death, from the time you wake up till the time you go to sleep, is I, me, myself. And that is what leads to mediocrity, that is what leads to depression, that is what leads to boredom. The moment you have a higher ideal, you are charged up, you're enthusiastic, you're excited, you're happy. Otherwise, you're mundane, petty, and selfish. And then you're constantly fighting with people. So what's happening now is that. How is it that in the past, just 3 generations before us, there were large joint families where everybody, 25, 30 members lived together, and the key word here is harmoniously. There was nobody claiming rights. It is when this sense of entitlement came in that you're fighting your siblings, brothers and sisters. You take any family with money, there is fight and separation. and they lose, both parties lose. The only category of people who are doing exceedingly well is lawyers, because the more you fight, the more they benefit. Then a dakshina. No dakshina. Dakshina is an offering that is given to a guru, a teacher, in gratitude. That is the most important. Now we don't give that guru dakshina. And in our culture, like in no other culture, we have a Guru Purnima festival, function, which is dedicated only to giving to the Guru, acknowledging your debt to the Guru, which is next Saturday. And incidentally, we are having a special webinar which will discuss 3 qualities, 3 pathways that we can embark on for self-improvement to become better human beings. And this is simple, it's not like the Bhagavad Gita. It is, of course, from the Bhagavad Gita, but presented in a simple manner. So please bring your children along. Bring means you don't have to go anywhere. Just log on, and it's only 1 hour. Saturday, 24th July, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. and it's free. As per the tradition in our country, we give this knowledge for free, and so that every person can access this knowledge. But dakshina is an essential aspect of yajna, where you have to give to the guru, to a person of wisdom, to a person who is at a higher level than us, where you have a deep sense of respect and regard for the guru who has shown the way and helped us to become better individuals. So that dakshina is an offering of material, physical service as a token of our gratitude. And when you have that, when you give it wholeheartedly, it has an impact. Like, there is a story of this little boy, Gopal, who had a single mother. His mother was a widow and poor. So she used to do petty jobs, but she was very keen that her son should get educated. So she had to send the son to a school that was far away. And the little boy, she could not accompany him. The little boy would be afraid to go through the forest to school. So the mother said, "Don't worry. Tomorrow when you are on your way to school, just call out to Krishna. And Krishna will accompany you, so your fear is taken care of." So he asked, "Who's Krishna?" She said, "Your friend." Sure enough, the next day when he was going to school, he called out to Krishna, and Krishna came, another little boy. And they played and had fun while they were going towards school. This would happen every day on his way to school and back. Then came Guru Purnima, like I said, next Saturday, where you are supposed to give a gift to the Guru. He went and told his mother that. The mother said, "I have nothing to give, but Krishna will help you. Tomorrow when you go to school, ask Krishna for something that you can offer the Guru." Next day he went, and he was so keen on giving something to the Guru. He was so full of gratitude that he asked Krishna, and Krishna gave him a little katori of milk. He was very excited. He didn't think that it was little or anything, because what he was giving was his whole heart. He went, offered it to the Guru. The Guru gave it a cursory glance and dismissed it, put it away. His wife was taking an audit of all the gifts that were coming. And the wife also didn't give it much notice. It was just a katori of milk. But the next morning, the wife rushed to the husband, the Guru, and said, "Who gave you this?" He said, "What are you making such a big deal of it? It's only a little bit of milk. You use it in tea." She said, "No, just look at this." She poured it out. It filled again. Poured it, Filled again. Any time, any number of times she poured it, it's still filled with milk. It would never stop. The next day, when the child came, the boy, the guru asked him, "Where did you get this from?" The boy said, "Krishna gave it to me." Guru said, "Krishna? Where is he? Who is he?" "He's my friend. Every day he comes with me through the forest. You want to meet him? Come." So the Guru went along with him. Krishna came. The boy Gopal saw him and talked to him and played with him. The Guru could not see. So this is it. This gratuitous offering must be done with your heart and soul. Then it has magical results. So what he gave was an endless supply of milk. It's a beautiful concept, Dakshina. Then Krishna details 3 kinds of tapas, that of body, speech and mind. Tapas of the body is pursuing higher ideals. Respecting the twice born means a Brahmana means highly sattvic individuals. Why? Because it is sattvic people, it's the sattvic guna that keeps society going. They are a minority, nobody pays attention to them now anymore. These are the people who really work hard and they keep the values going in society. If even this number goes, then there is anarchy, chaos and destruction in the world. So in India, we have a tradition of respecting them always. We never ridicule them. Guru Pujanam, worship of the Guru, is an inherent aspect of our culture. The Guru dispels the darkness in our life. And then the wise who contribute immensely to society. Wise means doctors, lawyers, engineers, so on and so forth. Tapas of speech is that which causes no agitation. See, when you speak, you must be careful not to be abrasive in your speech, but truthful, satyam, pleasing and edifying. So you're not catering to the worst qualities and gossiping. Whatever you say uplifts people. Also, svadhyaya, self-study, because that is the foundation on which all the other qualities are built. Tapas of the mind is tranquility, gentleness, silence, self-control, and purity of heart. These 3, tapas of the body, speech, and mind, can be sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic. So let's take a look at sattvic tapas. Verse 17.
Adhaya paraya taptam tapastatrividham naraihi aphalakankshibhiryuktaihi sattvikam parichakshate.
That threefold tapas, penance, practiced by steadfast people with supreme shraddha, faith, desiring no fruit, is called sattvic penance. So it's so important to have these. See, these qualities are given so that we may imbibe them. Supreme shraddha. Shraddha, we've seen, is the ability to fix a higher ideal and pursue it consistently till you achieve it. Desiring no fruit, aphalakankshibhe. You want nothing from your effort because what you're gunning for is self-realization, is sattvic penance. Rajasic austerity, tapa, is temporary and unstable and performed selfishly with the purpose of gaining respect, honor, and reverence from people. And then that misguided, self-torturing austerity, practiced with deluded obstinacy and to hurt others is tamasic. So tamasic is where you go on crash diets, you torture yourself just to become thin and look good, even if it means ill health. There are people who literally starve. And then there is this people who want to hurt others through black magic and other things. Not that it works, but they resort to it. Now, we are constantly given opportunities to give. But the heart must give, not the hand. Acts of charity, true charity, give immense benefit to the donor as well as to the recipient. A gift given without expectation of reward to a worthy person at the right time and place is called sattvic charity. Verse 20.
दातव्यमिति यद्दानं दीयतेनुपकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम्.
That gift given because it ought to be given. Datavyam. To one who can do no service in return. And at a suitable time and place, to a worthy person is regarded as sattvic. So, dana should be done not based on likes and dislikes. And you can't say, there's a gentleman who came and told me, on my 60th birthday, I gave a Mercedes to my daughter and another luxury car, BMW, to my son, and a fancy SUV to my wife, and that is it, my dan. So giving your family members because you like to give is not considered dan. You should do something because you think it is an obligation. And so most people say, mostly there is no dan at all. People don't give because they don't have the attitude of giving. If at all there is a donor, it is given with the impulse of the mind, which is not true dan. Driven by mere emotion rather than thinking. There is no reason or judgment applied there. Or it is given from an egoistic concept. Oh, I gave so much. And then you advertise that. A true gift. So this kind of gift, it does more for the donor than for the donee. A sattvic gift is when the donor intellectually evaluates the recipient's needs. The donor has no selfish motive, doesn't want anything in return. There is no expectation of any fruit. But any service rendered by the recipient in an attitude of gratitude. So let's say we have received something from you and we naturally want to give back at least a token, doesn't take away from your gift. The donor is free from expectation of a fruit. And because he intellectually evaluates, he gives the right thing at the right time, right place. Like this lady in Bangalore that we spoke of. She zeroed in on a very important need, a lacuna which nobody is giving. Yes, people are giving medical help, people are giving medicines, but what about food? Because they are in isolation, nobody goes to their home. And to a worthy person. Not like I said, to your wife and children. They already have enough. So giving to them has no meaning. And you don't give things that are useless to you. You know, once somebody invited me to give a lecture. And instead of giving a donation to our trust, where from the trust we do good work, we then have the means to provide more and do greater service to society. You have to believe what they gave me. They gave me a football trophy. Of what use is it to me? So you don't do things without this attitude of giving, and just as a token, somebody gives you a gift that is useless to you, you gift wrap it again and pass it on to somebody else. That's not true dana. Then comes Rajasic dana, which is given grudgingly for a return. You want something in return from it. You want your name. You ask, what is the return will I get that I will get? Somebody asked me once, I will give a donation to your trust, and what do I get? I said, you know what you'll get is peace of mind. Your return will come from God. Anything that we do doesn't match up to what God gives. And God gives plenty. Because the way to gain anything is to give. In any respect, there is a chain of pharmacy stores in the United States. They had 7,800 stores across the United States. And at one point, I think in 2014, they decided that if the health of our customers is our main objective in life, then they couldn't come to terms with selling cigarettes. And all their outlets had cigarettes. They were selling it. So the board took the momentous decision that they will withdraw cigarettes, all tobacco products from their stores. They did it, and tobacco is a highly paying, highly profitable business. They withdrew tobacco products with the understanding that yes, we are prepared for our profits to fall. And Wall Street didn't view it positively because they knew the company would make less profit. So the stock price fell. They still continued with it. And you know what? They benefited enormously. Customers, when they came to know that this is what they've done, they increased their patronage of the store. Their sales went up, their profits went up, their share price went up. Incredible, but true. Any time you think of giving, you give anything, genuinely, sattvic dana, the return to you, even materially, is enormous. Not to talk about happiness. Only givers are happy. Takers are not happy, they're miserable. So to the extent you're miserable, please understand it's because you're not a giver. And giving doesn't mean only money, please, at any level. So there is great value in giving, and give it thought. As I said earlier, it is not a ritual. It's not that you write a check and say, okay, this amount is for the next 5 years. So 5 years you don't do anything. It's not that. It's a genuine, heartfelt act of sharing. Because you feel one with a cause, you feel one with people. Because you are aware of the fact that the profits that have accrued to you are not yours. They have been enabled by so many factors in the external world which have come together so that you can make profit. And you must pay back. It's like you pay dividend to shareholders, you must pay a dividend to the stakeholders in your life. And there must be an awareness of it. So this is sattvic dana. Brahman, God, is indicated by the 3 words Om, Tat and Sat. They represent the path to the truth. Om is the subtlest symbol of God, the most powerful mantra used in meditation. Tat means that, the supreme state of enlightenment. And Sat is goodness which takes you to enlightenment. Sat also means steadfastness in the pursuit of yajna, tapa and dana. And Asat is These three practices performed without Shraddha. So we come to the end of a fascinating chapter. Now, those of you who are keen with this little exposure to the Bhagavad Gita, who want to do the Bhagavad Gita verse by verse, we have webinars every Saturday evening, and we go through the verses one by one, where the Sanskrit is recited, English translation is given, and an explanation in English. So those of you who would like to benefit from this, all you have to do is visit our website vedantavision.org and register for free. The webinars are free. We are asking for registration so that we can inform you of what we are doing. So you can do that, and you will shortly get details of this Wednesday's Guru Purnima function. This Saturday's, Guru Purnima function. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. On the auspicious occasion of Guru Purnima, Jayaji will speak on the topic 3 Pathways to Personal Mastery on Saturday, 24th July. Please join us on Zoom, YouTube, or Facebook. We look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.